Achtung! Vielen Grüße from Gamescom. I'm Daniel Kaiser here, giving you the lowdown, our first take on the Walking Dead video game, the brand new game from Terminal Reality. As you can see, fans are lined up behind us here on Friday of Gamescom 2012 here in Germany. But of course, we've been on the floor all week long playing and talking about the biggest video games of the show. The Walking Dead obviously is one of the bigger games. And we had a chance to sit on a presentation with it. I sat in with Glenn Gamble, who is from Terminal Reality. He's an awesome dude. They worked at Terminal Reality on the recent Ghostbusters game, and he's very excited. He needs to ease back on the energy drinks, or maybe switch to decaf. It's all good. But anyway, yeah, that dude's here. So we want to talk about The Walking Dead. Basically, obviously, the game is a first-person shooter that is coming our way probably next year on the PS3 and Xbox 360. Now, as everybody knows, the games by Telltale have been doing really well. Totally different vibe. The games by Telltale have a different art style, and they're on iOS, and they're you know, taking advantage of the property, but also doing it in a different way, in the Telltale way. This is more true to the television series. As far as the presentation went, basically we didn't see any gameplay at all. We did see some stills from gameplay that's still in production, or very early in production. But what they wanted to focus on was the key elements of what they're trying to do. First and foremost, from a story perspective, the game is going to shed light on the events of The Walking Dead. So basically it's a prequel. You're going to learn about the characters, you're going to learn about the setting as it develops and as you see it in the show. So for example, they talked about some of the main characters and the weapons they acquire and the things that you know them already with in the television show. You get to see how that all comes about in the video game. So if you're a big fan of the television series, you should at least appreciate getting a little bit more insight. They're working very closely with AMC. They have the Bible of all things Walking Dead in order to understand the story, and they're creating these side stories and these prequel elements in order to further, you know, entrench you into the world of The Walking Dead. So that's the big thing. They obviously wanted to focus on the survivors, which is at the crux of the series. I should note here at this point, full disclosure, I'm not a huge Walking Dead fan, so I don't really watch the television show, which is interesting because I talked to Glenn about that, about trying to just make a good game that would capture the attention of somebody like me who's not a huge fan. Obviously, there's like 9 million people who watch the season 2 finale, so there's a lot of people that are interested in The Walking Dead. But as far as people who aren't, will the game be able to capture them? They're trying to open it up and make a good game, despite people not being interested in The Walking Dead. Or if they are, obviously, there's a lot of meat on the bone to be chewed off by a zombie. Anyway. Survivors are at the crux of this story in The Walking Dead, and what they really wanted to do was to implement a lot of survival mechanisms. Things like these driving events they call road events, where you have to make decisions about who comes with you in the vehicle, if you exchange your vehicle, if you get out and push vehicles and put yourself in the way of zombie harm, or if you're going to try to reach a certain destination and get more supplies. They used a lot of examples of choice. So for instance, if you see another survivor, do you bring them with you in the vehicle so that you can help them, but at the same time, do you have enough capability to facilitate their survival? Do you have enough food? Do you have enough supplies? And are you exchanging their seats, their position in the vehicle for what you would stock up on supplies? So some strategy there, the survival mechanisms, and there's a big emphasis on that. Also in the way that you navigate through the world and how you have to try to find resources. So I guess a big sense of isolation and survival would be key to that. Obviously the walkers are key to this experience as well. As I mentioned, they talked about working one-on-one with AMC to understand the walkers, and they said, you know what, it was a big challenge because the walkers are very slow, very methodical. It's hard to create compelling gameplay out of that. But what they wanted to do, according to the presentation, was to create this sense of dread and obviously impact the player by sheer frequency or surprising them. So you'll have a lot of these zombies, or you'll have a lot of surprises. They might pop out of areas where you wouldn't expect them in order to try to eat your face off, basically, which is what we all know zombies do, because faces taste great to them. So anyway, gameplay mechanics, you know, it is a first-person game. You're going to have a lot of up-close confrontations. They talked about having a very distinct sense of one-on-one combat, close-range combat with the zombies, and they wanted to make that up-close and personal, what they said, very gratifying sense of destroying zombies. Hello! And anyway, they wanted to be able to create that sense of destroying a zombie really up close and personal, and gets you into that mode. He was really almost too excited about discussing the fact that they brought in like hundreds of dollars worth of vegetables and beat the living crap out of them to get the sound of a zombie skull smashing, which was kind of awkward, I'll be honest with you. But anyway, it should translate to some good gameplay mechanics and some good sound. And they said that, you know, there will be guns and things like that in the game, but they're like a last resort, things that you don't want to do right out of the gate because you might alert the other zombies and whatnot. So all in all, you know, I think the game, from my personal opinion, sounds like they're really trying to go after the authenticity of creating a game that is true to the Walking Dead property. They're mimicking it very closely with the presentation, and they're incorporating gameplay elements that will try to put you into the role of the character. That sounds pretty generic, but you know, it also sounds pretty promising from a gameplay standpoint. When looking at Terminal Reality's track record, you know, I think that they work a lot with these big IPs. And as Glenn said, you know, they gauge their success on whether or not they make the fans happy. If they can make the fans happy, then they've done their job. He said they don't want to be the ones that screw it up and get all the fans pissed off at them for ruining this IP that they love so near and dear. So hopefully they won't do that. But based on the presentation, I think it's on a road to delivering something promising. I know when it was announced, a lot of people kind of groaned and said, "Do we really need that?" Or "I hope this doesn't screw up the game or the franchise for me," and they don't produce a game that's just a cash-in on it. Seems like the team at Terminal Reality is really working hard to deliver something authentic and true to the Walking Dead IP. Of course, we'll learn a lot more about it as we go throughout the course of development, but there's a little bit of first take on what's being shown here at Gamescom 2012, and we'll of course follow up with more on The Walking Dead on GameTrailers.com, both throughout this show and throughout the course of development. So I'm Daniel Kaiser here from Germany, and we'll see you real soon here on Game Trailers. Thanks, man. Guys, people, girls, too. Bye.